October is obviously, we're really kind of moving into autumn morning, and October is a time of where we should be going through a process of what we would call wintering. So last week I talked about the tree and we thought about how the trees now start to lose their leaves. And so I want to work through a practice today, and I just want us to breathe, really, and that's what we're here to do. And part of the breathing and the process of wintering, which is something that I think is really empowering for us all to do, is honoring the seasons and honoring the time and honoring the rest, is to just be in the moment and to appreciate nature, to appreciate everything that's going on within nature, and just to breathe. So, on this kind of cool and damp October morning, if you're not feeling like you want to stay seated, you're welcome to lie down. But I want you to rest your hands either by your side. If you're seated, then ground through your sitting bones and sit up nice and tall. Lengthen through your spine. And let's just start by taking a big clearing breath in through your nose. And a big sigh out through your mouth. Seeing if you can take a big deep breath in through your nose. And another big sigh out through your mouth. And again, one more. When you're ready, in your own time, big deep breath in through your nose, really breathing in, feeling your lungs really expand. And when you're ready, clearing your mouth, clearing everything out, big sigh. And just see if you can, just for a moment, close your eyes and just find that rhythm within your breath. That rhythm where you breathe in, maybe for 4, to the count of 4. You hold and you breathe out for 4. Just focusing on that breath as we breathe in and as we breathe out. And as you focus on your breath, just allowing the only thought and the only activity to be the observation and being in the present moment with the breath. Notice how you're feeling today and honor that. And just start to feel like you can unravel your body so that you can sit up a little bit more. Closing your eyes, but feeling rooted with your sitting bones. Now, as you breathe in and you breathe out, I want you to just find that rhythm. As we breathe in and we breathe out into a rhythm, maybe for 4, maybe for 5, we hold and we breathe out. And as we move through into October and the days start to go much darker and shorter, and we start to enter the process of really wintering, really drawing ourselves inwards. And I feel like we get so distracted away from the rhythms of nature, and we forget to look at the signs and the things around us that are really indicating us to draw inwards and to slow down. And last night I watched the most amazing documentary about a couple who decided to buy a farm. And this farm, they really envisaged to be a really natural, original farm, where it wasn't going to be all one-way farming. They were going to do just a little bit, and that farm was just going to be completely sustainable. They were going to grow things that was going to work in harmony with nature, and it was going to be purely organic, and they were going to rebuild the infrastructure of the soil that when they bought the farm was completely overused with no nutrients, and nothing could grow there. In fact, the last 5 farmers had left that farm because they just couldn't make it work. So they met the most amazing guy who started to show them how to rebuild the farm. And as you rebuild the farm, the focus has got to be onto the soil and putting back all of the goodness into the soil. So they went about kind of reharvesting worms and building things back into the soil to bring it back into harmony. They started to put in plants onto the floor that would encourage the soil, and they brought in a variety of animals, as many as they can. And as they moved through the years, they slowly realized that, well, all these other things happened as they brought the products and they started to grow the soil, and nature would bring in its own kind of what we would probably see as enemies. So they had all these beautiful fruit trees growing, but then the starlings came, and the starlings would eat 80% of the crops. And really sadly, the guy that was advising them on the farm, he passed away, and they just didn't know what to do. So they were watching the slugs that would, and the snails would come, and they would damage all the lemon trees, and then the starlings were eating the fruit, and then they had these, like, they were kind of like badgers or gophers that were underneath the soil that were, and I suppose they were kind of looking to, how can we work against nature? And then they had this coyote that would come and kill their chickens, which was like really sad because it was like it was doing it for fun rather than. And they thought, oh, nature's getting it wrong. And I think when we go through our lives, we forget about nature. We forget. We're kind of a little bit uncomfortable with autumn, and we only love summer, and we don't want to go inwards and rest. And what they really quickly realized was that nature found a way. So with the snails, they just brought the ducks, and the ducks ate the snails. And then while the ducks were eating the snails, obviously they were reproducing and putting more goodness back into the soil as they were eating and basically pooping out all of these snails. For the starlings, they brought in owls, and then the owl boxes then attracted hawks, and these hawks kept the other birds under control so that they had a fruit crop. And then the owls and the hawks then ate the gophers, but the gophers were actually bringing the air back into the soil. And as they work through this farm, and as you watch through the program, you realize that nature has a way. And that even if the trees and the plants developed a bug or maybe a lice, there was another bug or another animal waiting in the wings that could harvest and that could help and that could continue with that cycle of nature. So as we breathe this morning, and as we breathe in and out through our nose and out through our mouth, I want you to notice the cycle of nature around you. Watching the trees as they start to lose their leaves. Watching the flowers as they start to die away. watching the changing of the seasons. Because as we start to watch nature, as we start to learn the lessons within nature, as we remember that everybody and everything has a place within Earth, you start to remember that you have a place within this world, within this planet, that we all have a really important job to do, and that we're all here to help and support and to serve and to empower each other. But we forget that we have the most magical gifts. We forget what we came here to do and to be, and we get caught up maybe in disharmony, dysregulation, in these feelings of lack and these feelings of good enough. But when we stop and we slow down and we start to honor the seasons and honor nature, we can start to realize who we are, what we are, and what our personal gifts are to others. So as you breathe through this practice this morning, as you breathe back into your life force, as you expand your lungs and you empower yourself, can you remind yourself of what you're here to do, of what you're here to be? Because in this life and in this path, we get lost. We get caught up in, I need this, I want this, I need to do this next, I need to go there. We get caught up in these stories that our mind tells us. But our soul that's connected to nature, and nature doesn't challenge. It finds and it remembers and it restores. So can you restore back into you? And as you take these moments of stillness and you take this time of stillness, can you really imagine all that you came here to be? And as you move through your week this week, can you look and notice the changes within nature around you? And as you start to notice the changes within nature, can you start to slow down so that it can bring about the changes and the switch of the seasons within you? As you take your last few breaths and you return back to your breath, Can you really fill your body with air? Can you remind yourself that your breath is here as that anchor and that connection to bring you back into the present moment? And can you remind yourself that all we really have, is the present moment? And the more that we try to be within that present moment, the more we stay truly connected to all that really matters. Just taking 2 more big inhales. And really exhaling here. Finding that length in your spine as you breathe in. And you breathe out. And then bringing your hands into the center of your heart. And just allowing yourself to honor yourself. Taking that moment just to show that gratitude to yourself for turning up and allowing yourself to breathe. Thank you all. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.